Happy Saturday, everybody. How's everybody doing? I have been so lazy today. It's been actually really nice. So hopefully y'all have had a good start to your weekend. I've literally been lounging around the house all day. First day of spring break, and I've really just tried to get in some much needed relaxation that I have failed to find the last several weeks. So I wanted to get on and share a few thoughts out of the last half of Ezekiel chapter 33. And I titled it, Are We Just Looking for Entertainment? And there's just a couple of verses that I wanted to point out here because, again, the whole book of Ezekiel is where they're talking about where he's, Ezekiel's the prophet, and he's telling the people of the destruction that's coming and all this, that, and the other. And so, anyways, he's explaining some of the fall here, and it comes down to how they're treating church and how they're treating worship and how they were treating the prophecies that they were receiving. And while we may not be doing some of the things that these people were doing, we do some of the same things just in a different way. And so I wanted to just hit on this a little bit, especially as we prepare to go into church tomorrow, just to have our hearts and minds right, because my preacher has said on more than one occasion that we should prepare ourselves for the church service before we go, that we should be prayerful and mindful of, pray for the service to go good, pray for the person preparing the message, pray for the Sunday school teachers, pray for your heart to be open and that kind of stuff. And most of the time we don't even think about that. And it's because we're not going for a word. We're going to be, not to be spiritually fed, but to be emotionally fed, or just to check a box. So let's read a couple of verses here. Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 30. As for you, son of man, your people are talking together about you by the walls and at the doors of the houses, saying to each other, come and hear the message that has come from the Lord. My people come to you as they usually do and sit before you to hear your words, but they do not put them into practice. Their mouths speak of love, but their hearts are greedy for unjust gain. Indeed, to them you are nothing more than one who sings love songs with a beautiful voice and plays an instrument well, for they hear your words, but do not put them into practice. Okay, so what he's describing here is people going to church to be entertained and to look good. They're going to, I think that's a big thing. A lot of people go to church on Sunday because that's what you're supposed to do, or your mama's going to fuss if you don't go, or, that's just where you're supposed to be, whether you want to go or not, whether you want to get a word, whether you're prepared for a word, whether you've lived like the devil all week, you're supposed to be in church on Sunday, so that's where you go. Some people go because that is a social outing. They like the people they go to church with. They like the praise and worship band that they have, or the music they have, or their preacher, comes with, he's entertaining to listen to, while you're getting your word, you're also being entertained. These people were they were actually saying, hey, let's go listen to Ezekiel. Let's go see what the Lord's been telling him, because we know he's a man of God. Let's go hear him. And so then they go, but it says they do not they come as they usually do. So this was a habitual thing. This wasn't just an isolated event. It says they sit before you, hear your words, but they don't put them into practice. And then it says their mouths speak of love, but their hearts are greedy for unjust gain. So they come with impure motives. They come to say they went because you're a better Christian if you go to church on Sunday. And then they sit there and they judge people in the church, or they judge the pastor from the pulpit, or they're waiting for something to be offended about, or simply just to be entertained. It says, indeed, you are nothing more than one who sings love songs with a beautiful voice and plays an instrument well, for they hear your words, but they do not put them into practice. And he brought destruction on these people. And so I feel like our society promotes entertainment at every angle. And this is just lumped into church as well. It didn't start with the church, but it has made its way there. Because, with technology the way that it is, and instant gratification being what it is, and how quickly we can get our information, how quickly we can communicate, how easy things have been made, how comfortable everything always is, it makes it hard not to be not necessarily angry, but upset when you're not feeling that comfort or entertained. We are very rarely bored. If we're bored, it's simply because we're not utilizing resources that we have. Because we have television, we have internet, we have cell phones, we have computers, we have a plethora of things to entertain us. Because our society has gotten us to the point where we are addicted to busy. We are addicted to constant, what's the word I'm looking for? Interaction, constant, like there's no downtime in our brains. We are always looking at something. We're always scrolling something. Like, I can't tell you, like, it makes me so mad at myself sometimes. Like, when I'm sitting watching a television show and a commercial comes on, sometimes I absentmindedly grab for my phone to scroll Facebook while the commercials are on TV, because I can't even sit and not be entertained for the 5 minutes that there will be commercials on television. That's ridiculous, but that's what we've amounted to. That's where we are as a society. That's where we are as a people. And that has spilt over into the church because we're entertained in every other area of our life. We're always interactive in every other area of our life. How dare us be bored in church? How dare us be not entertained by our pastor or the music or the lights or the screen, or the whatever. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having good music in church. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having screens and lights. To me, this is my personal opinion, and some people disagree with me. I believe all of that is preference. Some people prefer to worship with no music. Some people prefer to worship with lots of music. Some people are somewhere in between. I'm not hating on your worship, because I enjoy a good praise and worship band experience just like anybody else. What I'm saying is, don't let that be the only reason that you went to church this morning, because you wanted to hear the song, or just because you think your pastor is supposed to put on a dog and pony show and stand up there and entertain you. Because that's not what we are called to do as a people. That's not what we're called to do as Christians. Because most of what we have to tell the world is offensive. Most of what we have to tell the world makes people mad. I mean, honestly, nobody likes conviction. And so, if you're never convicted at church, I would say, worry about the church you're going to. Because there are some days, like this past Wednesday night when I went and listened to Real Talk Kim, I left so uplifted. Like, there are going to be those days when you're breaking chains and you're moving mountains and you get emotional at church and you just feel so good when you leave. And then some days you leave and you're like, that was like sandpaper, man. Like, has Pastor been following me around? Like, that he has to have been looking at me, because somebody must have told him what I said at work this week, because that was for me. You're not always going to leave with these little happy butterflies and goosebump feelings. And that's what I think it has come to. I think that society has gotten so easily offended that if our pastor offends us, just AKA that's conviction, just so you know. It's not your pastor's fault that the Holy Spirit's convicting you about your own actions. Let's just be real. Your pastor don't know what you've been doing. Unless you told him, or somebody, or you did it out in public, or you put it on your news feed and he could see it. More than likely, your pastor don't know what you've been doing. But the fact that he stepped on your toes, that's not his fault, and that's not his problem. Even if he does know that it's applicable to you. Like, for instance, some things that I've heard people get offended about when the preacher addresses from the pulpit. People not coming to church on a regular basis. You're a member of the church and you come about once every 6 weeks. If he preaches on church attendance, the one church service you come to out of 6 weeks, and that steps on your toes, it should. But he can't help what God told him to say from the pulpit. You can't be mad at him because you didn't come to church. That's not his problem. That's yours. And you're convicted about it. And you don't like it. However, that don't make it not true. That don't make it not real. So that's just a good example. But we have gotten to the point where we're so easily offended, and we're so easily triggered because we think that the pastor shouldn't ever say anything from the pulpit that offends us. Well, guess what? Jesus offended folks left and right. He called sin what it was. He called them a brood of vipers. He flipped the table over in the temple. Like, Jesus didn't tiptoe around people's feelings. Jesus wasn't like, well, let us go into our safe space with politically correct things. No, he made the religious folks mad all the time because he was breaking protocol left and right. Now, I'm not telling you to go to church tomorrow and flip the table over just because you don't like what's going on. But what I'm saying is, if Jesus could be straightforward and honest, if Jesus could call it what it was, if Jesus could step to people and say, hey, this is sin in your life, just kind of like the moment he said, he who is without sin cast the first stone when they were ready to kill that woman's sin was real, but so was theirs. And he pointed that out. That's offensive. Don't nobody like that. But we need that. We need that. And so instead of going to church, getting offended, and then leaving said church because my preacher's stepping on my toes from the pulpit, the preacher's calling me out from the pulpit. He didn't say my name, but everybody in there knew he was talking to me. No, they didn't. They didn't know he was talking about you unless you've been telling everybody your business. But nonetheless, he may have been talking to somebody else in there, and you didn't even know it. And so instead of saying, you know what, God's dealing with me about that in my area of life, and I really need to address that in my life, I'm just going to change churches. I don't like what he had said, so I'm going to change churches. That's what's wrong with society all the way around. When we don't like something, when we're bored, when we're not entertained, whenever it's not what we wanted to hear, then they're wrong, I'm right, and you had no right to come at me like that. The same is true, not just talking about your pastor in the pulpit. God tells him, okay, look, just that what God tells me to say right here, I have no idea. I can't see your faces. I don't know if y'all roll your eyes or you elbow your spouse and say, good, can you believe she's talking about this? And you can exit out of my live, or you can not watch my videos. I can't see that. That's the beauty of being on social media doing this. But I know sometimes the pastor probably sees the facial expressions, and you can't just run away from him. But it's not his fault. God's told him probably weeks in advance what he's supposed to say. And if it just happens to be the service that you stumble into, then that word was for you. It may have offended you. It may have hurt your feelings. It may have made you uncomfortable, but God gave that man that word for you. Those are not coincidences. Those are divine interventions. And so instead of saying, how dare that man call me out, you should be your face first into that pulpit and that invitation. You should be up there in that altar asking God to help deliver you from whatever it is you're convicted about. Because guess what? That's not going away. It's not going away. God's patient. God's kind. God loves you. He'll be patient with you while you work through it, but you got to work through it at some point, or you will face destruction and consequences of your actions. And so that's what happens with, all these unstable relationships. People hopping from one relationship to the next. You offended me. I don't like what you said. I'm leaving. You church hopping because you don't like what the preacher said this, but then the deacon said that. I've been there. I've been to a lot of churches in my life. I've gotten offended in church on a number of occasions. And then you just sitting there all just, well, you want to call me out on my stuff. Well, I know what, let's just look at y'all. Let's just flip it off of me and look at somebody else. I've been there. I've done that. That folks don't want to come to church. Real talk. And y'all running folks out that need to be there. You need to be there too. You need to be hearing what the preacher said. But you too mad about what he said 3 weeks ago that you can't even listen to the word that he gave for you today. And so that's why we get stuck. Because we are going to church simply to be entertained. And you know what? I teach Sunday school. I do these here. I have, my ladies' conferences every so often. I know how much preparation goes into speaking before a crowd. And when it comes to doing it for God, I'm not doing it for an entertainment factor. Like, I don't feel like God called me to entertain y'all. That's not what I'm doing here. If I was called to entertain you, I would have put on makeup and fixed my hair. This is what I look like on Saturday at my house. God didn't call me to entertain you, and God didn't call your preacher to entertain you. God didn't call your Sunday school to entertain you. God didn't call nothing. Like, he didn't call us to be entertained. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with enjoying church. You should. You should enjoy the fellowship with fellow believers. You should enjoy going to church and worshiping God. You should enjoy going and getting that bread that your pastor has prepared for you all week to give to you. But you should not go simply to have a 2-hour entertainment service. Because some stuff is just not that, it's just not, there's no way to make it interesting. I teach some things in nursing school. Talking about enlarged prostates is not interesting no matter how you spin it. But that's something I teach my students at the W. And I tell them, I'm like, y'all, this is a little dry, but you need to know it. And I'm not going to be able to make this funny. I'm not going to be able to make this just the most interesting thing you've ever heard. It's not the heart. It's not the lungs. It's not the brain. It's the prostate. The prostate's not interesting unless yours is malfunctioning. And I'm talking to a room that's primarily girls with 1 or 2 guys trickled in. And they're sitting there looking mortified the whole time. And the girls are like, this doesn't even apply to me. So, but they got to know it. They want to be a nurse. They're going to have patients with prostate problems at some point. I don't care where they work. It's just one of them things. Same is true at church. There are some things you need to hear that's not the most like flashy. It's not the, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's not the, he who started good work in you will see it through. It's not all these big mountain moving, just amazing scriptures that are just like, woo! You want to just get up and just be so excited about. Some of it's like, you're going to go to hell if you don't change your ways. Some of it's just, ow, ooh. I don't like that one. Read something else. But you need to hear it. We don't just eat cake and ice cream. We need the meat and potatoes too. And that's what was happening here. Ezekiel was trying to give them the meat and potatoes, and they're like, we're going to go listen to Ezekiel. We're going to go hear the word from the Lord. But then we're going to go do what we want to do. And I was reading my Sunday school lesson, and this was out of Jeremiah. But it's the same group of people. Jeremiah was a prophet. Ezekiel was a prophet to the people of Judah, just at different times and different places. In Jeremiah, they were throwing their kids into fires as sacrifices to false gods. They were taking their children and throwing them alive into a fire to sacrifice them to a fake god. Yet they were still going to the temple to worship God. Same people Ezekiel's talking to here. Like, that's how messed up we get. We think, how could they do such a thing? Well, you know what? How could people be selling children into the sex trafficking market? Who would think that we would kill millions of babies through abortion every year? But we do that. We sacrifice our own children just in a different way. We may not be throwing them alive into a fire, but we're teaching them methods that do not protect them from the stuff on the internet In fact, we're saying, here, have a phone. Here, get on the internet. Here, have an iPad. Because I don't want to have to interact with you right now because I want some downtime to look at my own phone and my own iPad because I have to be entertained every second of the day, so I'm going to entertain you, but your brain is not developed enough to know that that is not safe or that doesn't make sense of what you're doing, and they get sucked into a world or a mindset that will eventually suck them in and could kill them and steal them for Satan. Because we're shoving entertainment in their face. You must be entertained. They must make you feel good. You must always be happy. Not always going to be happy. That's setting your kids up for failure. That's why they go to drugs. That's why there's such a problem with that kind of stuff. Because we want to be happy all the time. And I want to be as happy as anybody else. But guess what? Sometimes life's hard. Sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you're frustrated. And that's when you need the Lord. That's when you need to go to church and hear that word that you really don't want to hear, but you need to hear. Not just, oh, God's going to bless your bank account. Oh, you're going to get your miracle. Oh, you're going to get your breakthrough. There's days for that. And I like those days. But some days, you go for the stuff that's not the most interesting, that's not the most flashy, but it's what you need. And we have become so accustomed to what society paints is what we are entitled to now. Happiness and entertainment, never being bored, never being offended is what we now feel entitled to. Jesus didn't say that. The Bible doesn't say that. That's a lie Satan's feeding us. So that we stay discontent all the time. And we stay so busy trying to attain the next thing to make us happy. Because we're not happy with what we got. So we got to go buy a new car. So we got to go buy a bigger house. So we have to buy a new outfit. So we have to have the newest shoes. So we have to find another spouse because the one we got's getting on our nerves. Does that not sound like the world? And where is God in that? Where are we sowing seeds into the next generation for the kingdom? Where are we teaching other people about the love of Christ? Where's witnessing? Where's the gospel and the attainment of more? Or the attainment of different? The attainment of entertainment? That's a lie from Satan. He's doing it. He's very crafty. He does it on purpose. He knows what you like and what you crave. I saw a post the other day that said, it's easy to spot a yellow car when all you think about is yellow cars. Satan knows what you want that you don't have. If it's a spouse, he'll put all these married people in front of your face. If it's a baby, he'll put all these pregnant people in front of your face. If it's more money, he'll put rich people in front of your face. I know, I've been there with the struggle of infertility. All I see was pregnant people, newborn photo sessions, pregnancy announcements, gender reveals. My timeline blow up. Satan knows how to push your buttons and then put you in the struggle of trying to attain what you think that you want to make you happy. But the only thing that is going to make you happy is being in the center of God's will and doing what He has for your life, whether that means you get what you want or you don't. But that don't feed into the entertainment factor. That don't feed into the, well, I can't ever be unhappy for any minute. I can't ever be bored. I can't ever be discontent. But there ain't nowhere in this Bible that says that you're not going to have some seasons of just a little bit of down. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says that your church has to make you just like have goosebumps and butterflies through every single service you ever go to. But a lot of that starts with you. Did you pray? That's what my pastor said one time. He said, did you pray before you come in here? Did you pray for me this week while I was preparing this message for you? Did you pray for the other people in the church to get their hearts right for this message? Did you pray for people to come to church that don't normally come to church? Did you pray for the invitation that hearts would be changed and the Spirit would move? Did you pray for any of that? Or did you just come in here hoping that I would tell you something that you wanted to hear or it was at least interesting to listen to? And he's kind of like, Well, if I'm being honest, Pastor, no, I didn't pray. I just got up and it was, a rat chase to even get everybody out the door this morning to come in here. I didn't even think about you and your sermon or anybody else who was coming for that matter because we came in on 2 wheels. We prep for baseball games. My kid plays tournament ball. We're going to prep. I'm going to have the blankets. I'm going to have the snacks. I'm going to have the Gatorades. I'm going to have a change of clothes. I'm going to have tennis shoes so when he takes his cleats off, he don't get my car a mess. Kyle races. He preps the car before he gets down there. He makes sure we got gas, that he's got all the tires, all the tools he needs to work on it. We prep for vacation. We pack days in advance. We call and make sure, and we put money aside for those things. But we don't prep for church. We don't put money aside for the tithes. We don't put prayer aside for what's actually going to happen inside the door. In fact, we don't even guarantee that we're going to be there. We ain't going to miss the stuff that matters to us. I'm just saying, we got to quit showing up to church like it's a trick and pony show where you just going to be entertained the whole time, every time. Nothing wrong with being entertained at church. I hope you enjoy church. That is my disclaimer. I hope that, my church, we got lots of folks who can sing really well. I like to listen to good music. I like to hear a good praise and worship band if I go somewhere that has that. I enjoy that. I enjoy listening to guest speakers. I enjoy doing the different activities. Like when I was in high school and we did all this stuff like D-Now or Nerf War and that kind of stuff, that was fun. You can have fun at church. I'm not saying that it has to be just, I'm just going to suffer through this 2 hours and then I'm going home. No, you should enjoy it, but that shouldn't be your motive for going. That shouldn't be what's going on in your heart and mind as your reason, your motivation to be there. Because I'm pretty sure Jesus didn't feel like doing what all he had to do for us every minute of the 33 years he lived on this earth. He was human too. He did it because he was obedient and he loves us. But I'm pretty sure he wasn't entertained while he was here every moment of every day. So with that, that's my thoughts out of the last part of Ezekiel 33. Hopefully it's got you in the right headspace to go to church tomorrow. Maybe it'll help you prep between now and then before you step through the door. That you step in there with good motives and a fresh heart and a fresh mind and ready to hear the word. And you pray for your pastor and you pray for the people that are in leadership in your church that are teaching and loving on people there. Because I can tell you the burden gets heavy and they often go unappreciated. And so you should tell those people that you appreciate them and that you're praying for them, because I promise they would love to hear it. So with that, I'm going to close this out in prayer and we'll get out of here. So let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and thank you for the time we've had to spend here, and we thank you for your word and how it speaks to us. Lord, just help us as we go to church and as we worship and as we look for avenues to praise you, Lord, that we're not just looking for forms of entertainment, that we don't just go and hear the word and not apply it to our lives, or to, just find any reason not to go or any reason to change. Lord, just help us to accept the conviction that you put upon us, because we know that it's just you trying to make us better, trying to make us more Christ-like, and help us to align ourselves more with you so that we can make a better dent for the kingdom. Lord, just get our hearts and minds right for church tomorrow. We lift up all the people preparing messages and Sunday school lessons, music for the church tomorrow. And Lord, just help us to go in with clear minds and clear motives and give you the worship you deserve. We love you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all, we'll get out of here, but I will see y'all later. So I love y'all. Be happy. Do good.